What's up, guys? How's
So,
how's your foot doing, man?
doing pretty well, doing pretty well.
Chris,
Oh wait, my
Jacob, what's
headset's
up,
not working. I
brother?
can't even hear anybody. My bad.
What's going on, Chris? How are you, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm making you the host, Alex. I'll be here. I just like am double dipping. I got pulled into a freaking meeting for my day job, so
Those SOBs.
I need to start a business so I can be free.
Yes, there you go.
There's a couple guys in the waiting room, but I don't see Gabe yet. It's still pretty early.
Notorious.
Been watching any basketball playoffs, Alex?
You know what? I was actually last night I was going to watch a game because basketball is my favorite sport. I've just fallen off of watching the NBA playoffs ever since my beloved Spurs fell off and they went woke. But all the games yesterday were all like 3-1 games. So I'm like, did any of those teams in the one win?
No.
Okay, so I didn't watch for good reason. I'm like, fuck these
Yeah.
games. Everything's 3-1. You know what I mean? So I think there's better games on tonight. So I might check one out this evening.
Yeah, I'm a Suns fan, so it was good to see them close the series last night.
The Suns are dead to me ever since they signed Kevin Durant, that little fucking hoe.
Yeah.
Although
Hey.
I was rooting for them last year. They still got CP3, don't they?
Mhm.
I'm a huge
Yep.
CP3 fan, man. I felt bad for him in the Clippers age because
Yeah.
because he just got robbed, man. The Spurs kept putting the woods to him. I don't know if you remember that 2014, 2015 playoffs. They made the hack a Jordan rule because Pop just fucking took the fans out of the equation. They just kept fouling Jordan because he was like 2 for 32 in foul shots in a freaking series. The games were boring, but I applauded the effort from them. Hello, Mr.
What's up, you beauties? How you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Dude, doing freaking amazing. Good to see you both. Thanks for hopping on here, Chris.
Yeah, of course.
Beautiful. What's up, Jacob? How's it going, bro?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Dude, doing good. Doing good. Very busy. Very, very busy, but doing well. Joey and I are on hyper overdrive, getting the marketing back up and
Dude, you
running.
guys are firing on all cylinders. It's awesome.
I will appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that. I hope it looks that way.
It's a good vibe. It's like I can tell you guys are like cranking it up a notch, so it's exciting.
Okay, dude. I'm glad, man, because we definitely are doing our absolute best in overdrive here, figuring a lot of stuff out ourselves and just trying to do everything the right way. So we appreciate you guys big time.
Can I open the floodgates here?
Let's do it, gents. We'll do share your wins. I have a quick kind of back lesson I want to get into, and then we'll go to Q&A. What's up, team? Got a good squad rolling in here. What's up, Nathan? How's it going, brother?
What's up, man?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
What's up, Drew? Carlos, welcome, bro. Appreciate you joining. Jonathan.
What's up, Gabe?
Good to see you, man. Good to see you, Carlos.
Good to see you, man.
You too, brother. You too. Joey told me you guys had an awesome client success interview.
We did. It was fun, man.
Awesome, man. Dude, all right, man. Let's get this thing rolling, guys. We're gonna open up today with just sharing our biggest wins from this past week. Chris, I know this is the first official one that you're hopping on. Alex has been to a few, but opening up with our past wins, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna move into a quick lesson on back training, and then open up for Q&A, whether that's about the lesson or just anything else, personally ourselves. So yeah, we'll give everybody about 2 minutes here. If you're just listening, awesome. No worries, Drew. And we'll write down what we feel like our biggest wins in this past week were, and we'll go from there. We'll share them. We'll start the timer now. 2 minutes. Chris, Alex, you guys are welcome to participate as well, brothers.
All right. Well, I guess I'll share a win. Of course, everyone knows I had Achilles surgery. So I haven't told everyone about the surgery, but the doc went in there and the tear wasn't as bad as he thought. So that was a win for me because I was expecting at least 6 months of recovery, but the doc said it will probably only be 3 to 4 months of recovery. So the tear wasn't as bad. Hell yeah. And I haven't been in any pain since Friday. So I'll take that as a win for
Bro,
my
that's
recovery.
huge. That's huge, dude. I know with Achilles tears, like that's one that could be bad. I was thinking like Kobe, like you're freaking right off the bone, hobbling, like out for a year type thing. But I'm glad to hear it's
Right.
only 4 months.
Yeah. The doctor made it sound like it was a tear right off the bone, just kind of like Kobe's situation. I was like, God dang it.
Yeah.
But of course, when he got in there, he saw the tear and he said it wasn't as bad as he thought. So yeah, man, I'll definitely take that as a massive win for the recovery time.
That's amazing. Yeah, heck yeah. What did it feel like tearing your Achilles? Felt like the scariest thing ever?
Not the scariest thing ever. It felt like a pop. So like I felt the pop. I didn't hear it because some people say you could actually hear the Achilles pop.
Mhm.
I didn't hear it. I felt it. I didn't fall on the court like I was playing basketball. I didn't fall on the court. I just buckled. And once I felt the pop, in my mind I was like, that's Achilles. That's Achilles. like no question. Everyone thought it was like an ankle, like I rolled my ankle, or like I was like, nah, like it's Achilles.
Yeah.
Like I was in pain, but I wasn't in pain I ever been in. So, but the doctor did say like some people are just in so much pain with this injury, but other people aren't. And I'm one of the fortunate ones that wasn't in that much pain. So,
Oh, dude, that's crazy. Yeah, I've never had a torn Achilles, but I've had a strained Achilles like pretty severely, actually from an ankle, torn ligaments in an ankle, where like I've just had that strain, and for me, like it was already like numb to the touch. Where I remember like waking up the next morning and like straightening my foot and like thinking my Achilles was torn. Like, oh my gosh. Like, oh gosh, it's just because it was so sensitive for me. But it's good to hear that you're not experiencing that much pain. It wasn't like excruciating. That was making me like sad, just imagining you like on the court, like whimpering. But I'm glad it wasn't that bad.
yeah, it wasn't too bad. I was able to walk off and everything. And yeah.
Nice. Cool, bro. Well, dude, I'm glad, bro. That's a huge win. Absolutely. Like Achilles tear, heal within 3 to 4 months. Amazing. Love it, brother. Awesome. Cool. Who's up next?
Sure, mine. I have a new low weight 219. So
Let's go.
it
Freaking
took a while,
go.
man. I was in that 220 to 23 range for a couple of weeks. Finally broke through, man.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love when you're kind of just bouncing around, hovering within a like 5-ish pound range. You're doing everything right. You're legitimately like, man, why isn't this busting? But then you finally, make that breakthrough. So that's always a good feeling, bro.
Yeah. Felt really good this morning. Yeah.
Congratulations, brother. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Heck yeah. It's a huge win. 219, soon to be 209, soon to be 199, bro. I'm excited.
Let's go.
Go. Heck yes. All right. Who's up next? Daniel, you look like you got some wins, man. You got a smile on your face. I just feel your energy through the Zoom camera.
So sister came back in town this week, so that's a really good thing, having her back. And store is opening back up soon, like her Chick-fil-A store. I mean, I gotta be honest, man, it's been a really tough week. Just been super busy, and then when I was sick, I'm like, dang, I need to slow down. And I kind of spent like half of this day like trying, not half, but like an hour or so, like trying to figure out a new schedule so I can kind of work with my family a little better. And so I guess the win here would be like I wrote up a new schedule and I'm getting a little bit more sleep out of it, so I'll be putting that in place today. And that'll also enable me to focus more on the goals that I have, which would be like, pouring into the sales course I just got, and then investing in my new business. And
New business.
yeah, that's going to be a thing. I haven't, because I was sick, I didn't buy it yet, but I'm going to be buying a new business here like really soon. Just kind of like opening my own thing. So yeah.
Nice, dude. You're
Yeah.
making moves, brother.
That's the move, man. That's the goal, is make moves.
Yeah.
Like Alex told me, he goes, if you're going to do a business, just start breaking things. So
Yes, bro.
yeah.
I love it, man. So it's so interesting how like the tone of your conversation changed when you opened up. Oh man, it's been, to be honest, kind of a rough week. Felt sick, this and that. And then you know what? Actually, I am investing time into the sales course I bought, right? Taking action, being a man of action, put that next foot forward. And actually, I'm gonna be buying, a business and start my own thing too, and opening up something. And dude, like you're taking so much massive action. Do you think that the Daniel from like 5 weeks ago would have been the Daniel who was talking about like opening a business and putting this much time into a sales course to like literally probably double his income?
Do you think that Daniel would have done this? No, he would have been too scared. He would have been too cocky about how far he'd already came, and he wouldn't have made a ton of progress. So, the Daniel now is like, the sky's the limit. In fact, that's not even the limit. So, and so that's kind of what I'm looking at now is, is that kind of Daniel here. So, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing, bro. Every week, just I see you level up and level up and level up. And I always hear about a new action that you took. That's what I love to see, right? It's not the same wins that you're repeating every single week on these calls. It's a new win because of a new action that you took. So I love to see that pattern forming in your life, brother. Good work.
I appreciate your encouragement very much. It is very helpful.
I guess, bro.
It's very helpful. Yeah.
Amazing. Good stuff, brother. Great work. All right. I know that the rest of y'all have cameras off. I know, Drew, you're just listening. So I'll share my win, and then Alex, you can wrap us up on the wins, and we'll get into the lesson for today. Biggest win from this week. Actually, I had to take a moment to kind of think about it because it wasn't any one specific tangible thing. You guys know how that is sometimes, right? But the biggest win from this past week is realizing what I am truly capable of. I went on Twitter yesterday and posted this kind of half joking, half serious video. That was my public apology. And if you watch that video, in that apology, I said something like, I want to apologize for not even showing you half a percentage point of what Default Kings is about and what we're capable of. And that's the feeling that I have right now, that I think, especially like you guys are aware of the situation with us parting ways with Jack. Like I'm going to be completely candid with you guys about everything. This is going to be a life-changing experience for me that teaches me so many lessons that I'm hopefully able to inspire you guys with. One of the biggest things that I've learned so far after parting ways is that the things we typically depend on others for, we might be more capable of ourselves, and maybe even at a higher level. So you can imagine me being in this situation. I'm like, oh, Jack's leaving. All the things that Jack has been responsible for, shoot, like he's not there anymore. He's not doing them. What are we going to do? And it almost forced me and Joey to be like, wait, we can do that. Wait, we can do this. Wait, we can do that. Wait, we can also do this and this and this. Oh shit. Look at everything we're capable of. Look how skilled we are. Look how resourceful we are. So this past week, I've just realized that I have so much more skills, so much more value, and so much more capability than I ever thought possible. And I don't think that would have happened if I wasn't almost forced to go find those things. So yeah, huge win for me, realizing what I'm capable of. Got the hell yeah from Charles. I love, bro. Appreciate the encouragement. Alex, what about you, brother?
Oh man, my win compared to all your guys is going to seem minuscule. However, goals are relative to the person who is achieving them. And my big win for the week is simply this: waking up before my alarm today. It's such a big deal for two reasons. One, any time in my life I woke up before my alarm, it literally sets a tone for my day to be the best day ever. Today is the best day ever. Second of all, I've been struggling with the alarm issue for about 2 weeks. I don't know if I'm overdosing on some supplements or what the case may be, but I'm hitting snooze sleep in a little 30 minutes longer. However, if you're very schedule oriented, such as myself, that will throw a ratchet in your day and you're playing catch up all day. So I woke up before my alarm today. I think I figured out the piece of the puzzle that I was missing. We're going to do it again tomorrow.
Heck yes, bro. What do you think the missing puzzle piece was?
Meditating at night. I don't think I was putting enough credence on like that extra layer of just like calming my mind down. Like similar to you, I'm just go for the past few weeks, and even more so with this transition within the company right now. I have a lot on my plate, a lot more new stimulus that's coming into my life. And I need to realize that sometimes it's good to take a second to breathe and just not think. Some I struggle with is not sitting with my thoughts and being silent at times. I'm always have headphones in. I'm always stimulated. So I've been taking an extra step to de-stimulate my mind. Right before this call, I took a 40-minute walk around town, nothing in my ears, just literally letting all the thoughts run through my mind. So that's going to be a big premise of me for the next few weeks, is being more time, being silent and just sitting with my thoughts.
I love that, bro. One thing I'm finding, Alex, because we talked about this with Austin Keith, Barefoot Will, either last week or the week before, right? Like as soon as we got back from the camping trip, he co-hosted that Iron Sharpening Iron call with us. I'm not sure if you're there or not, but we talked about this exact thing, like sitting quietly with your thoughts, giving yourself time to hear your own thoughts. Most people like never have that chance, whether you're unless you're in the shower, right? Because it's the only time you're not really stimulated. But then again, you're thinking about, scrubbing yourself up and everything, right? What I've found is that it's always the people who have the most on their plates, right? And I've realized that, and especially over this last week, as what's on my plate has essentially doubled, that time has become so much more important for me too. Like I almost get tired if I don't have that time now, right? Hopping in the car, even on the way home from the gym today, where I typically would put on music at the very least, maybe even a podcast or something like that. My mind just couldn't even tolerate music. Like the music was too loud for me to hear my own thoughts. So just shut off that music, just drove home and thought. But yeah, dude, like that's huge. Huge wins, waking up before your alarm. I love that. Literally like just making your enemies shit themselves the moment your eyes open and your feet hit the floor, right? Like, oh shit, he's up.
Oh, dude, I literally mumbled to myself. I looked at my watch and I was like 5:41. I was like, oh fuck yes.
Yeah.
I out of my mouth. I'm like, oh fuck yes, let's go. And
let's go. A cool question that I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but it sticks with me, especially early morning and especially when you wake up before your alarm, is does the enemy laugh or tremble in fear the moment you wake up? And I think with you, Alex, your enemy obviously trembles in fear, pisses his pants, tucks his tail between his legs, and goes running into the corner the moment your eyes open.
I always fall back to the famous Muhammad Ali quote: if you ever dream about beating me, you better wake up and apologize.
Yes, I love it. That's great, bro. Dude, huge win. Guys, let's get into the very quick basic lesson for today. This is going to be a very simple concept to grasp, but because it's so simple to grasp, and I think this is common with really simple concepts, what that means is if it's simple to grasp, it's usually very easy to completely screw up, right? Because it's so simple that if you're not doing it, you're just totally off the mark. And this concept I'm talking about today is so high ROI because all it takes is one decision and it can make all the difference in your physique. I'm mainly talking about aesthetics from this point forward. What I'm going to talk about is making sure that we're able to develop a well-rounded back. Okay, so we're talking back training, right? Back training itself is an umbrella that can go into so many different things. We can talk about posterior chain strength. We can talk about preventing injuries. Today, I'm talking about aesthetics, mainly back training, to make sure you have a well-rounded back. The reason I care so much about your back training when it comes to just pure aesthetics is because I believe that the back is one of the most subtle, subconscious signalers of your fitness level when people see you, especially when you're wearing clothes. Okay. This is something that I get all the time pretty much everywhere I go, there's this hilarious moment that really like kind of stood out to me, where I remember I was at a party actually in college when when I was like 18 years old, and I don't know if I just tripped or if I had a few too many drinks and tripped, but I tripped and I like knock into this fridge, and I like the fridge like shifts, like the fridge like moves, it comes onto one side and like falls over. I'm like, whoa, like almost knocked over that fridge. And someone looks at me and they're like, dude, Gabe, you're bigger than that fridge. Right. I'm like, yeah, I am bigger than that fridge. Right. So it's this idea of like this big, fit, stocky, powerful look is what I'm talking about. Right. Do you guys ever see the person in the gym who they look almost like kind of ripped, but skinny at the same time? And you're like, he's ripped, but not like he doesn't, he looks like I could kind of knock him over type of deal. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Great. So having a big, well-developed back avoids this. Okay. It's going to make you look great and also look powerful and thick and big and strong and sturdy. Look at pictures of Nathan. He posts on Twitter. Nathan's got a big back. And that's why when you look at pictures of Nathan, it's not just like, oh, there's a fit, ripped guy. Like he works out. It's like, yo, like what does that guy do? Like, did he play like football? Like that's the type of thing we're going for, right? The amount of people constantly, I used to have this old dry fit UCF shirt. I live like 15 minutes from UCF. If I wear that shirt in public, almost every single time someone's like, do you play on the football team? And it's because of that stocky look. It's because of that thick, stocky look. Do you guys see where I'm getting at here? Beautiful. Cool. So let's talk about it, right? There's one main big idea when it comes to back training that you guys want to consider. And the big idea that you want to consider is your muscle fiber orientation. Muscle fiber orientation. That is a fancy way of saying, what direction do your muscle fibers run in? What direction do your muscle fibers run in? Okay. The reason this matters is because the direction your muscle fibers run in determines what direction they mostly pull in. We talk about muscle fibers, right? They're essentially these strings that attach to bones. If you've been to a bunch of training calls, you've probably heard this before. If this is one of your first training calls, might seem like almost advanced level stuff. But muscle fibers are basically strings that attach to bones and they run in specific directions. Okay. And the direction that your muscle fiber runs in is going to determine what exercises make that muscle work. Right. So when it comes to your back, there are two main directions that muscle fibers will run, although there's variations between all of them. But the main directions that back muscles will run is either across your back or essentially up and down your back. So there's muscle fibers that run more across and more up and down. Okay. And at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what this looks like. Jacob, can you make me the host?
It's me, Gabe. I'll do it.
Hey, your brother.
Done.
Okay, cool. Share my screen here with y'all. And we look here. When you look at the back musculature, do we see here what I'm talking about when I say the direction of these muscle fibers? It's very clear that in all these different pieces of back musculature, whether you're talking about the muscle group of the lats or the rear delts or the traps or the rhomboids, each of these areas of back musculature, the fibers run in a very distinct direction. Do we all see that? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, the two main factors that you have to consider when you're training are, do these muscle fibers run more across or more up and down? We can see here that, especially with something like the lats, like these big slabs of meat here that actually attach to areas of the spine here, these run much more up and down, although they also run slightly across. It's like a diagonal shape. Do we see that here? Awesome. And then we have muscles like the traps that have a lot more, traps and rhomboids that have a lot more of this across type of direction here, right? A lot more of this across type of direction here. And that down and across type of directions, those are directions that you want to consider when you're doing your back training. And it's why when you look at a lot of your programs, you'll see a lot of some of your exercises will have one direction of pull that more aligns with the across type of muscle fibers, and one that's more up and down type muscle fibers. Okay. Are we all kind of seeing that so far? Daniel, I know you're looking at the screen. Are you seeing that, brother?
Yeah, I'm seeing it a little bit. It's just I'm on my phone, so it's not great. But I think I get the
Cool. You get the picture, right? So basically the only real decision you have to be making, and not real decision because obviously your coaches make this decision for you, but the consideration you have to be making is, what is the position of my arms when I'm completing the back exercise? Okay, what's the position of my arms when I'm completing the back exercise? Because every single one of these muscle groups here is going to be influenced by the movement of your arms, right? No matter what, whether it's the traps, whether it's the rhomboids, whether it's the rear delts, whether it's the lats, they're going to be influenced by the movement of your arms. So the position of your arms is what's going to determine which one of these muscles are working more. Okay, are we following that so far? Beautiful. Now, of course, there's going to be variations and nuances here, but the two main arm positions that are going to affect what muscles are mainly being worked are going to be an elbows out arm position and an elbows in arm position. An elbows out arm position and an elbows in arm position. When we have an elbows out arm position, the line of force is more moving across our back. So anything that, think rear delts, think of face pull, right? Face pull, your arms tucked in or out. They're flared out to hell, right? And when you can imagine your arm being attached to this rear delt here, right? And let's imagine that this arm is stretched out across this line right here. Think about the direction that those rear delt fibers are going to be when your arm is out here. They're going to be completely across, right? So anything with your elbows more out by side of your body is going to influence the muscle fibers that go more across. Okay. So anything with the elbows out is a lot of traps. As you see these muscle fibers run across, it's a lot of rhomboids as well, as you see those pretty much run across, and it's going to be a lot of rear delts as well. Does that make sense? Beautiful. Now, anything with your elbows in, if you can imagine the line of force when your elbows are in, is going to more influence the fibers that run more up and down. Okay. Elbows in works the muscles that run more up and down. And if we look at the main muscle that's going to run more up and down, it's going to be the lat mostly. Okay. Just because those fibers are running somewhat directionally more up and down, although they also run across a little bit. So the ways that this is going to actually look in the gym is just showing, some back muscle here for credibility. You're going to have, and I'm going to show two exercises that if you're listening, I would absolutely go back and watch this because it's going to be a great visual. Two exercises that are going to look almost exactly the same. And the only difference will be the arm path. And I want you guys to figure out and see if you can look at this exercise and think, what muscle fibers does that exercise mostly influence? Well, what muscle groups? So the first example is going to be this. I'm going to show the more normal one first. It's going to be this elbows out T-bar row. Okay. This elbows out T-bar row.
What's up? So like,
okay. So this is a thread from 2021. Talk about throwback. But if you look at this T-bar row and you look at the position of my elbows as I row this weight backwards, you see that these are very much out towards this, out to the side of my body, right? Like I'm almost trying to extend these out as far as humanly possible. And the line of force is going to run directly across from where my elbow is. So if we look at the position of that elbow and we go back to this back anatomy chart, that line of force is running straight through this area of my back mainly. So this elbows out position is going to be fantastic for mainly here lots of rear delts and traps, right? Like this is what's moving. And when you extend and you're thinking about this at a very high level, especially during your warm-ups, you will feel that this elbows out is just squeezing your traps better than anything humanly possible, right? Like those shoulder blades are just freaking flying, right? So that's the idea here, right? Elbows out, a lot of traps here, right? I'm squeezing my shoulder blades together at the back. And I think this is actually one of the reasons why, again, showboating a little bit, but one of the reasons why I have massive traps. I do believe this massively. Lots of people are like, oh, you must do shrugs all the time. That's why you have the biggest freaking traps and the freaking meat sticks that are sticking out of your t-shirt and you can't even fit in the ice barrel. I never do shrugs. Never, ever, ever. I haven't done shrugs since I was probably 16 years old. I do deadlift a lot, which also helps with the traps. But one of the main reasons that I believe I have these thick defined traps that you can see popping off of my spinal cord, right? You can see that there's density there, that there's like inches until you touch my spine. If you were to poke right here, is because I have this very thought out elbows out pathway with a lot of my back exercises, and I'm moving my shoulder blades like crazy. That's what builds that thickness to where now your t-shirt pops off of your body to a greater degree. And when you turn to the side and people see your silhouette, they see something that is thicker than the average human being. And that looks hard to knock over because there's literally those inches of density in your traps between the surface of your skin and your spine. So elbows out, right? Muscles that run more across, lots and lots of traps. Still, of course, lots of lats and everything else. None of this is in isolation ever. Nothing is in isolation. So if my elbows are out, it's not like, oh, there's no lats that are working here and it's only traps. No, that never happens. But it's mainly these fibers that run across a lot of traps, a lot of rear delts. Now, if we go to the second exercise here, it's going to look almost exactly the same. Almost exactly the same. It's a T-bar row again. But what you're going to notice is that with this T-bar row, my elbows stay tucked in like this, tucked in like this. Okay. Tucked in versus flared out. The reason I'm showing you both of these examples as the same exercise, right? They're both a T-bar row, is because it's not actually the name of the exercise or even the setup that determines what muscle works. It's the movement of your body that determines what muscle works, right? I'm using the same exact machine here in this case. And yes, this one has a little bit more like moving handles or whatever, but same exact machine in this case, and a completely different influence on my body because of how I decide to move my body. So many of our progressions in the gym, so much of our ability to progress in the gym and get a lot out of our workouts is actually more based on our decisions about how we move than it is about what's written down on paper that's programmed by our coach. Because I guarantee you, these guys, they're going to write out the best programs humanly possible. But if you go in the gym and you decide not to actually execute the exercises the way they're intended, you will not get as much out of that program as you possibly could. Right? Like Daniel, if you were to hand me the same like chord charts or whatever it is for the songs that you're able to play on piano, you can imagine me, someone who's not a masterful piano player, trying to execute the same chord charts, same freaking program, and how that would sound versus you, who knows all the nuances, who knows how to position your fingers, right? Who knows where to let off a little bit and press on a little bit harder.
That is 100% correct. Yep.
Way correct. Same thing with these programs, right? Same things with, how much are you going to be able to get out of the T-bar row that's written on your program? It's up to you. It depends on how you decide to move your body, right? So that's why I'm showing you this example here. Same exercise, totally different influence on the body. Elbows in, right? We're talking about this direction where we're more diagonal and more close into the body. That's absolutely going to influence these more diagonal, more up and down running type fibers, a lot of lats. And if you ever do any back exercise now I want you guys to start thinking about this. Anytime you have a back exercise where your elbow goes in, so like a single arm pull down, or a T-bar row like this, or a dumbbell row with your elbow in, I want you guys to try to feel this area of your lat. Like shove your elbow into the side of your body and keep it drilled in as you pull down like this, like, ugh. If you focus on that hard enough, you will be able to feel the muscle fibers that attach your lat literally to your hip. And that's going to open your eyes to, holy shit. Now I see how just tucking my elbow in can activate these muscle fibers way, way more. All right. Again, you will feel muscle fibers down by your hip and spine if you focus on tucking the elbow in enough. So yeah, that's a lesson in a nutshell, guys. Paying attention to how the position of your arms influences certain muscle fibers when you're doing your back training. I personally believe that if you pay great attention to this during the workouts that you already have and for the rest of your training career, you'll be able to put together a well-developed back that gives you that thick, powerful look. And I think I see so many guys in the gym who never think about this, who might have one area of their back that's extremely developed, one area that's not, and they absolutely look the part. So yeah, that's it. Any questions on back training in general before we just move into general Q&A?
Would you be able to just perhaps like DM me that picture? That's a good picture to look at.
Absolutely. I'll actually drop it in the chat right now.
Oh, in this one or in this chat here? Okay, got it.
Yeah. Anytime you are like trying to figure out what muscle fibers does this exercise actually influence, I love looking at anatomy charts. This is going to seem super nerdy, like Gabe. I'm not, I didn't study kinesiology. I'm not a nerd like you, but like, it's very, you get a lot of perspective when you look at the direction that muscle fibers run. Like even if I were to look up like chest anatomy, oops, I should probably look up muscle. Here you go. You're going to be able to see that you'll have different fibers that run more across and more diagonally as well. Same thing in the chest. And what are the exercises that work more of these upwards chest fibers? What's the main one? Chris, Alex, you guys can shout it out if you want. Exercise that works more of the upper chest fibers.
Military press.
Like overhead press.
Anything increased?
Anything increase? Who said anything?
Incline, sorry.
Any incline, yeah. Who said incline? Who said that? Nathan, man, you're just such a genius, man. Sorry, I didn't see you because I'm on like this.
No, that's all right. I was confused. I was like,
you're good, bro. Sorry, I'm on the shared screen. I didn't see you, but yeah, anything incline works more of these upper chest fibers. The reason is because when you get on that incline to press against gravity in the same direction, your elbow has to come in and your arm path becomes this. It's more aligned with the fibers that are facing that way versus a flat bench where now you're pressing like this and it's more aligned with the fibers that are facing across. And if we think even about like a dip where your elbows are coming this way and then down, the dip is going to work those fibers of the chest that run more down. Those costal pec fibers right here. Down. Okay. The arm path determines everything when it comes to your training. Everything is your arm path. Okay. So yeah, if you ever want more clarity on this, absolutely look up anatomy charts. And another big lesson here is that no matter what arm path you're taking, whether you're doing incline bench, flat bench, decline bench, elbows in rows, elbows out rows, elbows in pull downs, elbows out pull downs, it never works in isolation. Okay. So even though an incline bench press is going to be more upper chest fibers, all of this is still working. It's still working. These are just working a little bit more. Even though a dip or a decline press is more of these lower chest fibers, the upper chest is still working. This middle chest, these across fibers are still working. Ooh. Muscle fiber orientation. Stuff I'm weirdly passionate about that influences very minor decisions day to day, but that ultimately I think like these rice grain level decisions and levels of awareness that impact how you move in the gym, I think make all the difference over a long enough time horizon, all the difference possible. All the guys I know who are like, oh, that stuff doesn't really matter. 2 to 3 years later, you smoke them in your physique. You're like, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's not going to matter like next week and in 2 weeks. You're not going to notice the difference. In 3 years, yeah, you absolutely will. When they're coming up to you and they're like, dude, why do you look so thick? Like, where'd that come from? Cool. Awesome, guys. So with chest dumbbell row, the elbows in. So it depends, right? Because a lot of you guys have a chest supported dumbbell row that is called the nipple line incline bench chest supported dumbbell row. A lot of you guys have this. And if you look at the elbow path on that exercise, it's a lot more elbows out. Okay. So it's going to work the fibers that run more across. It's like an elbows out T-bar row. It's almost the same thing. There is also chest supported dumbbell rows that you can do with your elbows in. So it's the same dynamic of that T-bar row, where if you do it more with your elbows in, it's going to be more of those up and down chest fibers. Boom, there you go. If you do it more with your elbows out, it's going to be more of the across chest fibers. Okay. Cool. Beautiful. Awesome, guys. Any other questions about back training, about muscle fibers, about which exercises, at what angles work what muscles more?
Do the rhomboids get worked kind of adjacent with the traps? Because I know they're underneath and kind of help like build out. Do those just kind of work at the same time, or are there certain exercises that like just I know it's impossible to target one muscle exactly?
You're on the right track 100%, right? The rhomboids themselves, a good rule of thumb, so to speak, is that anytime you're working like the traps, because they have a very similar fiber orientation, the rhomboids are also going to be in a great position to work. Okay.
Gotcha.
But the rhomboids do pull a little bit more downwards than the traps themselves. Okay.
Gotcha.
So the rhomboids, they're also going to work with things like a bent over, like overhead extension, like just getting your arm like in this direction. The rhomboids are pulling that arm almost downward. Okay?
Gotcha.
So in general, things that work traps are also going to work rhomboids really, really well. But there's some other specific niche exercises that work rhomboids a little bit more specifically.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Great question, by the way. Cool. All right. Still got some time here. Do you guys have any questions just about anything else going on in your training in general? Could be completely unrelated to what we're talking about.
I was thinking about putting in place with the new schedule I wrote up. I was thinking about putting in place kind of like a weekly kind of like a body weight gauntlet, and it was definitely inspired off of T1T, of course. So there's planks, and then there's wall sits, and then of course I know about push-ups. What are some other things that you would recommend that would build muscle endurance like the planks and the wall sits do? Because I think that's kind of what I want to go for, is build the endurance and the muscles, and then tie that in with my strength training, which I'll do later in the evening.
Okay. So I love that. You're looking for exercises that are going to allow you to like build lots of muscle endurance, right?
Yeah, definitely endurance. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. I like this. I can see where this is coming from, especially once you do something like the bear crawls that we did and like all that stuff. You're like, oh shit, like I need to train for this. Right?
I'm more so worried about the steps, if I'm honest with you, but
how do I allow my muscles to keep on going a little bit more? Yeah, great question. So it depends on like the actual muscle group itself. If we want to shoot out exercises, do you have a specific muscle group in general that you're trying to increase its endurance, or are you just talking about like overall, what are some ideas?
Really just trying to be creative with kind of like the the body weight gauntlet workout. I feel like I might change it like a few days like out of the week, where I might do like 2 planks, 2 wall sits, and then I know enough variations in push-ups where I could definitely get creative with that, whether it be elbows in, elbows out, etc. And then with this information you gave me here, that even helps even more. But I know there's sit-ups and pull-ups as well, and other things. But I was wondering what else I could potentially do to add endurance to the back, to the legs, to the chest, all of it. It's kind of like generally speaking, I guess.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, we'll kind of shotgun some ideas out here for you.
Sure.
Alex and Chris, you guys can absolutely chime in with some ideas if you want as well. The first idea that came to my mind, that's going to be something similar to like a plank, wall sit, etc., specifically for the shoulders and triceps, is going to be I don't even know if there's a technical term for it other than like wall push-ups, right? So what that looks like is, this is something I prescribed all the time to people during COVID when they couldn't work out with the gym, is it would be having their feet elevated in a push-up position, right? That feet elevated in the push-up position takes them from this position to like this position. And all of a sudden they can get to the point where their feet are up the side of a wall and they're just like holding themselves in a shoulder press for as long as humanly possible, right? They can even do like overhead press almost with their feet up on the wall and like, trying to not bang their head on the ground. Of course, I did it a few times and bang my head on the ground and you fall over, someone's spotting you. But I would love the idea of like timing my like feet up, like overhead press hold, right? Maybe you do like 3 sets of 30 plus seconds or something like that, just to see how much your shoulders can endure. I love that too, because it directly will increase your ability to do something like a bear crawl or a wheelbarrow, where your arms and your shoulders, your triceps and shoulders are what's failing, right? So yeah, maybe like a feet up, overhead shoulder press hold.
Yeah, handstand. It's called a handstand.
There you go.
I know Chris has a lot of at-home workouts that are booked in my program right now too, which I'm definitely going to take a look at. So yeah, handstand, clearly.
My bad. There we go.
I agree with Gabe on doing the handstand. Like, just hold it as long as you can. And when you feel like you're strong enough, you could start incorporating that push-up motion. A good way I went about it trying to do handstand push-ups is the gym I worked at, we had like these blue pads for like people that need to do kneeling exercises or whatever. I would stack the blue pads. They were probably like 2 inches tall. So I would stack maybe like 2 or 3 of them. I think I started with 3 of them. So it was like 6 inches off the ground. And I would just hit the top of my head to that. Then when I got to a certain rep range, I don't even remember what rep range, I would remove the pad. Now it would be 4 inches off the ground. And I would just keep doing that until I felt strong enough. Then at some point I was actually doing push-ups with my head touching the handstand push-ups, my head touching the floor. So that's the protocol I went about it, is just increasing the range of motion.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. You can increase the range of motion. You can also increase how high your feet are, right? Like, I think you mentioned this too.
Yeah.
If for somebody who, let's say they're a little bit too strong for push-ups, but not strong enough for a handstand push-up, we would have them just put their feet on like a chair and do push-ups that way. And then we'd have them put their feet on like a step stool, like a little bit higher, a little bit more challenging. Arms are a little bit more overhead. And then the ultimate progression is that handstand push-up. They, by the way, for, handstand, man, technical term, I couldn't calculate it. There's too much going on, but yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Handstand. Glad we figured it out, man. We would have all just been screaming if we weren't here.
Yeah. And for the back, for body weight, I think pull-ups, man, it's one of the best. Especially like when you just see a guy at a park just busting out like 10 to 20 pull-ups, you're like, yeah, that guy's legit. Like, that guy's strong as hell. Because there's not too many people that could do pull-ups, so.
Mm-hmm.
Got you. Invest in a pull-up bar.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about the pads, was that like, that was underneath your hands, of course, right?
No, it was underneath my head. So my hands were on the ground.
Okay. Okay.
So like the pad is up against the wall, and I use the wall to slam my feet pretty much against for the support. So you're like right by the wall. Then the pad is in between your hands, so that way your head could touch the pad as you're trying to do the push-ups. Then then if you to start, if you just want to time yourself in a handstand, I would start I had a stopwatch or my phone. I would start the stopwatch, put it right by the wall. So when I'm upside down, I could see the time. And so whenever I finally got into that handstand position, I'll be like, if it was like 5 seconds later, I'm like, all right, I started at 5 seconds. And I would just time myself from there.
That's good.
Love it. Daniel, remember you could also add load to some of these exercises. So for example, like a wall sit, if you want to continue progressing that, of course you can progress time, but you can always put a 45-pound plate on your lap. And that's just going to be a very measurable way to increase your strength in that position and your endurance in that position.
That's good.
Beautiful. Another, Danny, if you're thinking about muscle endurance and stuff, like another thing to consider is that a lot of muscle endurance is not necessarily coming, it doesn't necessarily come down always to like an actual change in an actual structural change of your muscles, right? So like really the only real structural change in muscles is like their size. Okay. It's their size. Like marathon runners don't have muscles that like somehow function differently than bodybuilders. They just have smaller muscles, but their skill to endure is so much greater with those muscles on top of like, of course, their cardiovascular endurance and everything like that. But a lot of this really just comes down to training your brain to be able to tell your muscle to keep on going when it's tired. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Right. That's why like there are people going back to the Nashville retreat with all different strength levels who are able to complete that endurance, muscular endurance, really type exercise, right? You get somebody with my strength levels, like there are people with my levels of strength who wouldn't be able to complete that because their brain isn't capable of telling their muscle to continue going. That somewhat comes down to willpower, but willpower can also just be almost like calculated by level of preparation. How trained are you for that event? Does your mind believe it's possible because you've done it so many times before, right? So a lot of this comes down to training yourself to be able to tell your muscles to keep firing once you're tired. So another thing you could do is you can find finishers, legs finishers are going to help you a lot, that you can do safely after your main lifts. One of the ones I love that I hate, but I love that's going to help you get better at stairs is after my like last set of squats or something, or like let's say a leg day typical, some kind of squat, some kind of leg curl, some kind of RDL, some kind of leg extension at the end. I would do my last set of leg extensions. Then I would immediately do a heels elevated squat, right? Like where I go very, very deep with my heels up, like a goblet squat. And then right after a set of goblet squats, like 20 plus reps, I would push a sled. I'll push a sled. This is insane. Like you're a zombie when you're doing this, especially with a sled, because a sled is so safe because there's no eccentric. It doesn't push you back. Like you're not going to die. So the only option is to keep going, because in other exercises, like, oh, I can't go down again. Like I'm going to fall and die. Like, no, could you take another step? Then you can keep going, right? Like that's why the sled is so cool for teaching muscle endurance, because your muscles are going to feel physically like they were done like in 6 minutes ago when you hopped off the leg extension. That's typically when our brain stops telling our muscles to continue going. Then you do the sissy squat or the goblet squat. Then you push a sled. And like, again, you were done 8 minutes ago. but you're still capable of continuing to go. The sled at the end of a leg day is a great way to train your brain to tell your muscles to keep on going.
I have a story to tell. I was doing legs with my buddy on a Monday and going pretty hard on the leg workout. And then there's a gal who was wanting to use the machine after us. I was like, oh, yeah, go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get a paper towel, help you out, right? And I take 2 steps and I like fall to my knees because my legs were in so much. Oh my gosh. I'm like, well, yeah, that just happened.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man. So yeah, I just had to add that in there. I think back to that to this day. So yeah.
That's a war story. I love that. Oh, yeah, great questions though. Anybody else have any questions before we wrap up here? Awesome. Also, guys, want you to look at Nathan's profile pic covering here. See how this guy just looks jacked, right? Like, I'm just going to say subject. Nathan, I'm using you as an example yet again, brother. But this guy just looks jacked, and the subtle reason I'm going to say, I'm using an example. The subtle reason is the size of his back, because although you can't point it out very, very acutely, his lats are so wide that they somewhat poke out from behind him. There's less space between his arm and rib cage versus somebody who doesn't have wide lats. Okay. That's like the whoa, like who is that? Also his traps, like there's muscle tissue elevated like far off of his collarbone, like close to his ears. Okay, because of the size of his traps. So legitimately, like that's one of the reasons why you'll look at a picture of somebody like Nathan and you're like, whoa, like that dude is freaking huge. Like he's stocky. Did he play like pro rugby or something? Right. The size of the back has those very subtle, like, why does that guy look bigger than everyone else?
Week 4 through week 12, I swear, Nathan, I sent you a Loom video every week and said, would you look at that barn door back? I swear I did. Dude,
No, it was funny. The first week I was like, you were like you have a pretty good sized back. We're gonna uncover it. I was like, all right, sounds good.
Dude, because what Gabe said at the very start of this about like the back is an amazing metric. Like that's the very first thing I look at on any guy. Like it's the back. It's like the metric. And I feel like I do it subconsciously because like you get these guys who have big arms. I'm like, great, let me see your back. You know what I mean? Like, can you hold the force of that freaking bar? You just sitting there doing freaking curls all day. Because a lot of guys do that. Me included when I was 16. My friends and I went to the gym and did 3 things. We did sit-ups, we did curls, and we did bench sometimes. And it was just to impress the chicks, man. I could give a shit less about legs or anything else. And now that I'm older, I realize like the determination of how strong you are and how strong your foundation is your back. You make that stronger, all your other key lifts are going to get better.
100%. We didn't even talk today about the function of a big, strong back in your strength expression in other big lifts. Mm-hmm. Like that's a whole separate training video. We only talked about the aesthetics today. We didn't even talk about the strength implications of that. I think another cool thing is that this is a hilarious quote I heard from somebody who I learned a lot from, Joe Bennett. His name is a hypertrophy coach on Instagram. He had this quote where he said, like, look, if you want bigger traps, you could definitely do shrugs. Definitely. But you could also just get strong as shit, is what he said. He asked a question. Have you ever seen anyone who can front squat 400 pounds who doesn't have massive traps? Have you ever seen anyone who could, let's just say, deadlift 500 pounds who doesn't have a big muscular barn door back? No, it doesn't exist. I would argue anyone that could bench like over 275 also probably has a very large back, right? Anybody who's just strong in general probably has a muscular back, because a muscular back is required to stabilize those extremely heavy loads. That's part of the reason when you see somebody, whether consciously or subconsciously, with a big back, you automatically assume that number one, they're strong. Number two, they do shit harder than 99% of the population because they wouldn't have a big back otherwise. This is stuff that is ingrained in us at a psychological level, at an evolutionary level. We just don't understand. But the beauty is that when you have this understanding, you can influence it, right? And you start to become the person who people view as that guy who does hard shit subconsciously. They don't really know why they feel that way, but they feel that way about you, right? And now all of a sudden you actually have the knowledge to have your body align with your identity. And that's what kind of this whole thing is about, right? Wow, guys. Amazing training tactics group call. I love getting into the weeds with y'all. Guys, if you have requests for training tactics subjects, whether it be injury prevention, whether it be just a deeper understanding of how something works, whether it be how to maximize a specific muscle group, please drop those in the chat. Like you can just tag me like, hey, Gabe, I have this question, or just this thing I've been thinking about trying to wrap my head around when it comes to exercise. Feel free to drop those in the chat because I do prepare for these the 15 to 20-ish minutes prior, start to think about what I actually want to talk about. And if I see something like, cool, that's what we're going to talk about today, let's get that outlined so we can dive into that discussion. Yeah, feel free to do that, guys. And other than that, thank you all for being here. I love you guys all. Have an amazing day.